The Île-de-France is the most populous of the 18 regions of France. Centered around the capital Paris, it is located in the north-central part of the country and often called the Région Parisienne. Île-de-France is densely populated and retains a prime economic position on the national stage. Though it covers only 12,012 square kilometers, about 2% of metropolitan French territory, its estimated 2020 population of 12,278,210 was nearly one-fifth of the national total. Its economy accounts for nearly one-third of the French gross domestic product. The region is made up of 8 administrative departments: Paris, Essonne, Hauts-de-Seine, Seine-Saint-Denis, Seine-et-Marne, Val-de-Marne, Val-d'Oise and Yvelines. It was created as the District of the Paris region in 1961. In 1976, its status was aligned with the French administrative regions that were created in 1972. It was renamed after the historic province of Île-de-France. Residents are sometimes referred to as Francilians, an administrative word created in the 1980s. The GDP of the region in 2018 was €734 billion. It has the highest per capita GDP of any French region and the third highest of any region in the European Union. The Île-de-France region alone accounts for 5% of the European Union's GDP, for only about 2.7% of the Union's population. In 2018, nearly all of the 28 French companies listed in the Fortune Global 500 were based in the Île-de-France. Beyond the city limits of Paris, the region has many other important historic sites, including the palaces of Versailles and Fontainebleau, as well as the most visited tourist attraction in France, Disneyland Paris. Though it is the richest French region, a significant number of residents live in poverty. The official poverty rate in the Île-de-France was 15.9% in 2015. The region has witnessed increasing income inequality in recent decades, and rising housing prices have pushed the less affluent outside Paris, although the modern name Île-de-France literally means Island of France. Its etymology is in fact unclear. The island may refer to the land between the rivers Oise, Marne and Seine, or it may also have been a reference to the Île de la Cité, where the French royal palace and cathedral were located. Historic province of Île-de-France before French Revolution. The modern départements covered by the historical Île-de-France. Modern region of Île-de-France and départements. The Île-de-France was inhabited by the Parisii, a sub-tribe of the Celtic Senones, from around the middle of the 3rd century BC. One of the area's major north-south trade routes crossed the Seine on the Île de la Cité. This meeting place of land and water trade routes gradually became an important trading center. The Parisii traded with many river towns and minted their own coins for that purpose. The Romans conquered the area in 52 BC and began their settlement on Paris's left bank. It became a prosperous city with a forum, baths, temples, theaters, and an amphitheater. Christianity was introduced in the middle of the 3rd century AD by Saint Denis, the first bishop of Paris. According to legend, when Denis refused to renounce his faith before Roman authorities, he was beheaded on the hill that became known as Mons Martyr, later Montmartre. The legend further states that Denis walked headless from this hill to the north of the city. The place where he finally fell and was buried became an important religious shrine. The Basilica of Saint Denis. Clovers the Frank, the first king of the Merovingian dynasty, made the city his capital from 508. As the Frankish domination of Gaul began, there was a gradual immigration by the Franks to Paris, and the Parisian Francian dialects were born. Fortification of the Île de la Cité failed to avert sacking by Vikings in 845. But Paris's strategic importance, with its bridges preventing ships from passing, was established by successful defense in the siege of Paris. Was elected king of the Franks. Under the rule of the Capetian kings, Paris gradually became the largest and most prosperous city in France. The kings of France enjoyed getting away from Paris and hunting in the game-filled forests of the region. They built palatial hunting lodges, most notably Palace of Fontainebleau and the Palace of Versailles, From the time of Louis XIV until the French Revolution, Versailles was the official residence of the kings and the seat of the French government. Île-de-France became the term used for the territory of Paris and the surrounding province, which was administered directly by the king. During the French Revolution, the royal provinces were abolished and divided into departments, and the city and region were governed directly by the national government. In the period after World War II, as Paris faced a major housing shortage, hundreds of massive apartment blocks for low-income residents were built around the edges of Paris. In the 1950s and the 1960s, thousands of immigrant